Brodes Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Brodes. We have a few things to say here right off the top. Number one, my voice is a bit defeated, so it's probably not going to sound great as we enter this 30 to 35 minute show. Number two, my body hurts. I am old as hell. I am physically beat up from game two and emotionally. And it makes me very uncomfortable because in a weird way, that's giving the stupid, disgusting Mets some version of validation. Another way that I spin this is, once again, it's more about the Phillies. The Phillies are beating me up because you don't know what version you're going to get on a night-to-night basis. When it happens to be the team, the one, holy hell, is it the best? But it could be so draining and so toxic and so disgusting to watch them play on one of their quiet offensive woe nights. So they're the ones that's putting me through the ringer physically. And the more and more I think about it, I'm not just saying that to say that. That's the truth. So if I'm smart, I'd end the show and pretend I never said it. But since I'm a man of the people, I can't do that. So let's get into a little bit of last night and game two, and then we'll look ahead into game three. I overlooked Bryce post-game, which made a lot of sense. It was so hectic. You don't have enough time to absorb 4 minutes after the game to come sit down here and share my thoughts. I figured there'd be a lot to miss, and then we would reconvene, if you will. I was going bonkers with Nick's second half of the back-to-back bomb and with Bryson Stott. That made me feel a type of way that I probably haven't felt since the last Red October we experienced. The Bryce one, that starts the whole thing. That starts the whole thing. I want everybody to just close their eyes and think about Bryce Harper's face and say, thank you. Thank you. All this man does, you can open your eyes, by the way. All this man does is dominate. And I mean literally dominate in the postseason. He's always clutch. In a sport where you fail as much as you do, because obviously there's an idiot who's listening right now who's going to say, well, actually, shut up. In a sport where the success rate is what it is, my man Bryce Harper is as ready for the big lights as anybody who ever laced up their cleats. Without that shot, in a series where it was smacking them in the face early, they don't want a piece of you. You found a pitch against Severino and maximized it like no one really can. The lack of actual opportunities to do that based off of how they were walking him intentionally every time. It's hard to do that when people are throwing for strikes and actually accidentally missing their location and a breaking pitch falls short of middle. It's hard to do it then. I wonder what it's like to be in his mind during an at-bat of that magnitude. It's insanity. There was seriously never a doubt. We always joke about that, right? Whew, easy win game two, huh, boys? Never a doubt. But in all seriousness, With him, there is an element of never a doubt. So after game one, I hate to put people back into those feelings because it was a dark, dark time. I had the opportunity to host midnight to 3 a.m. on WIP. Game ended around, maybe 7-ish? So 5 hours later, boom, we're having some heavy reaction. And as you can imagine, people were pissed, as they should be. The phone lines were stacked the whole night, rolling into the middle of the night. Wouldn't stop buzzing. I got a call that will probably stay with me for the length of time. And I'm all for being really upset and saying some things because you're in the moment, venting, getting a lot of rage off your chest. Surprise! I think it could be healthy to a certain degree. So you want to throw insane thoughts out there? By all means. But this one was so insane, I had to fight the guy. His takeaway after game one, and I hope to God he calls me back when I'm on later this week. He goes, Bryce Harper's a narcissist. You're never going to win anything with guys in this room with that type of mentality. And I said, hold on a second. You watched him have a double and 2 walks in game one. You're angry the bullpen blew a 1-0 lead. Yes, that's correct. Your bullpen couldn't shut the door in a 1-run playoff game. And the offense in totality, including Nick, Trea, and Bohm. And your takeaway is Bryce Harper's a narcissist. So why? Why? Well, because he admired a fly ball before and he didn't hustle to get off the phones. How you feeling today? You don't think Bryce Harper will do anything to win for his team? Do you know how difficult it is to stay engaged the way he is, knowing when to take the walks, knowing when to take some hacks, when he's getting pitched this way, and saying, yo, I'm passing it to the next guy. That's the way we got to do this thing. A narcissist would say, it's my moment. Well, he probably does say that to some degree, but in a cocky, confident, and I'm going to deliver way. But he's totally willing to win if it's because of Nick, because of Trea, because of Zach, because of any of these guys. That's just so dumb and such a clown take that it's nuts to me. And I just think it's ironic because the following game, that was an all-time Citizens Bank Park playoff game. And Bryce Harper, surprise, surprise, is the face of that again. They don't make them like this. They don't make them like this. So it's hilarious that a Phillies fan would have that type of view after the first game loss. But anyway, speaking of Trea Turner, I got a bunch of different little topics to throw around. We got anytime hotline calls, so we got a lot happening. By the way, before we move on, I just have to tell you about Garage Beer because it is the greatest beer that I've ever had touch my lips. No bitterness, beer that tastes like beer, definitely not an IPA. Make sure you check out Garage Beer. So, Trea Turner, it's also not getting praised enough about his 9th inning, 2-out walk. This was someone slotted second in your lineup that was chasing uglier or just as ugly as what Nick does. It was tragic how he approached some of his at-bats. A 2-out, 9th inning walk after the demoralizing home run with Matt Strahm on the mound. You know how easy it is to wrap it up and say, we're going to extras, boys. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Here we go. This is it. Season's on the line. Extra innings. 9 innings, 2 outs. Work the walk. Then they have to have a very difficult conversation about what they want to do with Bryce and attacking him. I thought the Mets really screwed up with how they didn't want to sniff Bryce in the 8th. That's where the Bryson Stott magic went down. It's ballsy. It's ballsy. And the Phillies do have too many hitters. They will make you pay. Crazy stuff. It really is. So a few different hypotheticals I heard today looking ahead at Game 3. I heard this one from Joe DeCamera. If Aaron Nola goes 7 innings, and now you need to go to the 8th, and we're thinking about how the bullpen has not been clutch lately, you need a lefty. Matt Strahm or Jose Alvarado. Who do you go to Game 3? Now, my answer would be Matt Strahm, based off of his regular season, deserves the ball again. He's got one more chance. If it goes wrong, then Jose Alvarado gets the next left-handed shot. If you were to be super quick on the leash from anything that happened in the regular season and willing to make change like we've seen Rob and Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies do as a staff multiple times this season, then who knows? Maybe it is Jose. Let's think about what they did for Game 2. They benched Alec Bohm. Does it get much bigger than benching someone of that caliber who's been the player that he's been for all of the regular season for you? The doubles, the runs batted in. He was your cleanup hitter all year. So if Rob is willing to yank his ass out of the lineup, I wouldn't be stunned for any move. So maybe it is Jose Alvarado. But my personal opinion, I like the idea of giving Strahm the ball again if you need a lefty. But what I'd be looking at more times than not right now is Estevez, which the most hilarious point of this whole discussion is he was probably the least guy that you would want after seeing the finish of the 162. No? Hoffman, Strahm. No, I feel better about Estevez than most people do. But I would still admit that there are other names that I liked more than what I was getting from Estevez. But his veteran presence, his ability to know what late game situations are like. You got to have that it factor when you grab the ball back there. He has that it factor. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to have rough pockets. But I'm saying more along the lines of he is a savvy veteran, real 8th, 9th inning major league pitcher. It's a lot of pros about what it means when he's on the mound. I do feel strongly about that. What else we got here? The New York media ripping and fans ripping the atmosphere at CBP because I guess they got their feelings hurt. They ran into some people that were mean to them. Oh, okay. Grow some balls, will you? It's a baseball game. You're the New York Mets fan base. You're a New York baseball team. It's a playoff game against a division rival. You're crying about the hostility. A little embarrassing. Man, a little embarrassing. Now, speaking of New York media, Boomer and Gio is the morning show on The Fan up in New York. Gio thinks that this thing is not coming back to Philadelphia. And when I heard it first, I go, maybe he's a very intelligent man. Because the Phils, it's a no-brainer. You're right. I agree. They're going to take 2 up in New York. No. He was so hyped up from what went down here in South Philly that he thinks in that crazy environment, there's no shot the Phils will be able to win games. And the funny part is, I've come to conclusion, if I could watch other teams come to our ballpark and win, I promise you, you won't win a game because of the fans in Queens. You might win a baseball game because that's what happens. The intimidation of CBP, if that doesn't shut anyone down, and we had to watch 3 straight home playoff losses, game 1, and then dating back to 6 and 7 against the Diamondbacks, 3 straight is telling. But in regards of being afraid and you won't win because Mets fans will be loud, if teams could come into here and win, we can go elsewhere and win. So that's where we're at. All right. Why don't we take calls? Why don't we do that? Let's go to the Anytime Hotline.
I'm sorry, man. There's one thing I got to get on you about. Bohm has to start, dude. I know you get on him about how he acts. Well, guess what? He gets to act like that. You know why? Because he literally carried us the whole beginning of the season. Without him playing how he played at the beginning of the season, we wouldn't have been on the run we had, and you know that. What, all these guys are allowed to play the way they're playing? Nick's allowed to swing at what he's usually swinging at, but Bohm's not. He's way more talented, can get hot when he needs to, and everybody knows he's a way better bat than a Mundo Sosa. We have to have him in the lineup, bro. If we need to get over this stuff, realize he's the better bat, and we're going to fucking need him. We need Alec Bohm in the lineup.
So I don't disagree with you there. You do need Alec Bohm. That's why I'm aggravated that he's not doing what Rob Thompson is asking him to do. This isn't about Bohm's bat being better than Edmundo Sosa. This cuts deeper than that. It does. We know how Rob Thompson goes. There's no way that the only reason why Alec Bohm isn't in the lineup for a playoff game is because he's struggling when we watch guys like Nick and Trey and others struggle. Because there's plenty of examples of other guys struggling and he keep plugging away. It goes farther than that. There's something more to it. Whether they've had legitimate conversations, like, hear me out. What if, and I'm just speculating, but what if over the last couple of seasons, because this is nothing new with Bohm, with the way he pouts all the time, what if Rob has had multiple different sit-downs with him? And they talk about how if this doesn't change, I'm going to have to do something about it. And then it doesn't change. And he goes, yo, Bohmer, if it doesn't change, we're going to have to do something about it. And it doesn't change. And then he goes, all right, Bohm, listen, I don't want to do this. But if it continues, I have to step in and you're giving me no other choice. I don't want to do this. Then he does it again. What do you do? I truly believe, once again, speculating, but I'm using context clues to come up with something based off of logical events, okay? It's like not just coming up with something that sounded a little faulty to me, but, just in regards to drawing conclusions that are rational based off of what we're getting here. Alec Bohm and Rob Thompson probably have some beef about the way Alec Bohm cannot handle the emotions of the game. And it could be very contagious if someone of that caliber, a cleanup hitter, is moping around. It's not about getting a hit or not. And now you're probably thinking, you have to put up with it. He's your better player. It's the playoffs. And the most important thing is winning games. While I do agree, at some point, if there's really something behind the scenes going on, Rob's hands were probably tied behind their back based off of the decisions Alec made. So that's where I'm at with it. He is needed, though. He is needed. It's not about Edmundo Sosa making a mistake over at third and pulling Bryce Harper off the bag or any variation of player B being better than player A. Because Bohm is a better third baseman, I think. I like Sosa around the diamond. Bohm is a pretty damn good third baseman. I don't think I'm just being swayed by how tragic it once was, and now that he's maybe just a tick above average, that it seems more drastic. I think he's a pretty damn good third baseman. I don't know what any metrics say. And his bat is one of the best when it comes to knocking in runs. You take that chance over Sosa, unless something's happening. I'm just telling you how I feel. All right, next call.
Hey, Brodes, just a couple thoughts after a crazy day yesterday. First of all, I'm not a big drinker. You know, I don't drink a lot, but when it's Phillies baseball season, I pretty much have to be annihilated to watch the games because of my nerves. And last night couldn't be any more proof of that. With that being said, I mean, how beautiful is it set up that we got Knowles going game 3? I mean, how beautiful is it set up? I can't imagine what would be going through the dugout in the clubhouse, going down to 2. Luckily, we don't have to think about that. But going into game 3, you gotta love your chances. You gotta love the vibe, the momentum, and you gotta love the horse that you got on the mound. It couldn't be a more beautiful situation. Lot of series to go, and I can't wait to watch it.
I can't either, although I can, because if it's anything like it was on Sunday, I'm going to be crushed because they have a game the next day and it's in the middle of the work week. You get a little Sunday action, you're probably refreshed, you're hanging out on Saturday watching college football. Well, I guess you were watching game 1, and it was a pretty heavy weekend. You know what? Don't know where I'm going with that. Looking at the betting line right now, the Mets with Sean Manaea on the bump is minus 108, and the Phillies with Aaron Nola is minus 112. I want to see what the over-unders are for Nola K's. They have it set at 5.5, and they have Manaea at 5.5. Dude, I just want them to come out swinging. Just come out with a crazy right hook, score 5 runs, and not have a ridiculous, weird, nonsense 6-out run in the 8th and 9th inning. Actually getting real run out of your pen that have answers, that have put away pitches. Stop with this 0-2 nonsense. If you're good enough to get 0-2, you should be good enough to put them away. Especially when that's all you've done. It's all you've done. Your bullpen has done a sensational job for you. Now they just forget how to pitch? Buckle up. It gets me angry. So does watching Nimmo round the bases and start talking trash to Christopher Sanchez. Is that what we got it down to when we broke it all down? That's what I saw. Maybe I'm missing something. But was he talking to JT Realmuto about Christopher Sanchez? I just think that's something you try and stay away from, because I would never poke the bear. You really want to start a fire? Now, if a fire happens organically and the Phillies start to become red hot, then there's nothing you can do about it. But it would be foolish to start staring at the beast right in the face and then tempting them to go after you, because that's what you're doing. And what do you know? The Phils actually had a counter. This whole thing about the Mets, and that's what they do. They're not accustomed to having a team with this level of firepower that can also do what they do. We just said, we got you. We see how you do it. We're double down. We'll double down. We'll play this game. You want to do this over the long run? Okay. It's ballsy. Very, very ballsy. Okay, we'll take another one here.
Ew, Brodes. Ew, Brodes. Oh, my God, man. This game has been over for a little while now, and I am still just euphoric over that win. Man, I'm going to try and get this out, but, my wife is new to the Philly fandom, and after that game last night, I was pissed. I was so pissed, and I wanted that team booed off the field because of the result,
Game one,
because of the product that they put out in front of a bunch of fans that paid their money to go to that game. And she didn't really get it. And the way I explained it is just it's not that we hate our teams. And Philly fans get, a bad rap because of this attitude. But you know what, man? When you go out and you give a fuck about the product that you put on the field, the pop that you get out of that stadium, you get the boos when you play bad, but man, when you lock in the way that this team locked in, this city rides for that team. I give a fuck about that team. The city gives a fuck about that team, and all we want them to do is play like they care. And they did tonight, man. They locked in. Let's go, Phils.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with the way that we approach this as fans. You just have to understand as an athlete how it goes. Jason Kelsey's got no problem with it. Brian Dawkins has no problem with it. Zach Ertz had no problem with it. Hell, this man was breaking down in tears knowing that it was going to be his last little run there with the Birds, and he couldn't believe it, and it broke his heart. That's how much he loved being here. Bryce loves being here. It's not easy, and I get it. There's going to be moments where you're probably thinking, shut the fuck up. But that's the brother stuff. Guess what? I'm telling you right now, okay, you got a brother, you got a sister, you love them. You love them. And guess what? You tell them to shut the fuck up all the time. They get under your skin. They get on your nerves, and you get on their nerves. You love them unconditionally. There's nothing you wouldn't do in life for them. Same applies here. They say this about your wife or your significant other. They're the people that know how to get you going the most, and they're the people that you can't stand the most. And they know how to get into your gears, but they also give you a feeling that you will never feel with another person ever again. Same applies. The fans had an effect on that game. It's not just a funny social media meme. It's not just random. What the Phillies did after the whole boo and the sarcastic cheer, Nick was fueled by that. And I think the clubhouse was fueled by Nick being fueled. I think that gave the Phils almost a big-time wake-up call. And what do you know? They find a way to win a big one. Now, speaking of the clubhouse and inspiration, right? I do not have this on my bingo card. But Taijuan Walker being one of the best teammates on the squad right now, look, I get it. Dave Dombrowski was not signing over John Middleton's check, hoping that this guy would have a couple of feet up on the dugout steps watching the game, encouraging. Now that you're here, though, after last year's issues, after this type of regular season, maybe we were all wrong about Taijuan. Now, when I saw the broadcast, just the teammate aspect of it, because I've crushed him at times, the dude went out and ripped his manager when he wasn't getting the time he thought he deserved. It's as ugly as it gets. For him to be up there, apparently he said something to Nick before everything went down. Listen, you need that. You need the vibes. I didn't think it would be Taijuan Walker of all people, but I did see him. And I thought, that's interesting. All right, Taijuan. Then there was a whole piece on the Inquirer about it. For what it's worth. Okay, that's all. For what it's worth. Who would have thought? All right, that's going to do it. I'll be quiet now, and then we'll worry about game 3 tomorrow. I got to save all the energy I can for that game. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much. I love you, and I'll see you on the next one.